I have a lot of these classic MLs who have a problem with my take about Genghis Khan being a communist. You classical LARPers have done fucking nothing to witness all these deranged, retarded liberals defiling the image of Marxism-Leninism. Where is the pure orthodox Marxism-Leninism you claim to uphold? I don't fucking see it anywhere. You bet your fucking ass infrared vision is going to take this shit to another level. It's going to make a lot of these fucking gatekeepers uncomfortable. I don't give a fuck. I'm a Hoxhaist. You're a Hoxhaist? What have you fucking done to defend Enver Hoxha from being turned into a clown by these retarded people in America trying to combine Enver Hoxha and the flags of Albania and the flag, all this like weird furry shit? Furries are literally trying to rape the image of Enver Hoxha in America. Where's your outrage against that? But I call Enver Hoxha basically a Sufi Muslim in practice, which he was. Oh, this is ridiculous. Shut the fuck up, bitch. You're a fucking LARPer. You've done nothing to make this outlook and this vision and this worldview something fresh, 21st century, and fucking relevant now. You're a historical society LARPer. You belong to a historical reenactment society, and you're a LARPer. Historical reenactor. Whoa, no, you're reenacting history. Fuck you. I'm living in it now. You know, infrared was always so controversial because of this, by the way. We used to trigger all these fucking people, these gatekeepers, who considered themselves the preeminent authorities on classical Marxism-Leninism, orthodox. But it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist anywhere. And anyone who wants to maintain it, the purity, you get called a fascist. So no one recognizes it exists. The syncretic experiments of infrared, the communism is Islam, Genghis Khan, all that kind of stuff, that's the only way. That's the only way. It's either going to be communism is Islam, or I should say, it's either going to be Marxism is Islam, or Marxism is furries. You choose. And for those of you that want to say, well, why don't we just say Marxism is Christianity? Okay, I have a response for that too. I'll tell you exactly why. Before I do that, I have to fucking realize that I froze. One sec. Jesus Christ. All right. Anyway, we have a debate topic. I'm just setting up. All right. Anyway, it's set up. The reason that doesn't work is because, look, Islamic eschatology talks about the return of Jesus, right? Do you know why Islamic eschatology talks about the return of Jesus? Because Islam itself is a tradition that has always acknowledged Jesus was missing. Jesus was missing. In Islam itself, Jesus is, in a sense, he's missing. The Muslim world was created on an implicit basis and understanding of the fact that on earth, Jesus is missing. Now, let's look at the entire development of the Western world, okay? The whole history is a history of alienation from Jesus, if you think about it. I'm not going to go over it. You have to read Hegel. The whole Western world's a history of the alienation from Jesus, right? Okay, but somehow Jesus does come back. How does Jesus come back? Through Marxism, through communism. The communist movement is the return of Jesus Christ. So when Islam anticipated the return of Jesus on earth, That was, in a way, anticipating the writing of the Communist Manifesto in 1848 and the rise of the communist movement in the West and the whole arc of history that we call the history of the West. He never left us. Okay, but you are not paying attention. In the world, Jesus was manifestly being neglected. Jesus was being ignored. You think in the Western world they were upholding Jesus? No. In the Muslim world, were they upholding Jesus? No, they weren't. Jesus teaches mercy. Jesus teaches the universal mercy for mankind, right? Forgiveness of mankind. Well, the Muslim world was pretty brutal and harsh throughout its whole history. Jesus was missing. The Western world, Jesus was missing. You could say Jesus was always there the whole time. Okay, sure, but manifestly in the world, materially, Jesus wasn't there. So in Islam anticipated, why did Islam say the Messiah Jesus is going to come back? Why don't they say Muhammad's going to come back? Why don't they say the last prophet of Islam is going to come back? They say Jesus will return to this earth because Islam always acknowledged that the true message of Christianity was forgotten. Real Christianity was forgotten on earth. Islam acknowledged that. Real Christianity was ignored. It was forgotten. Michael Hudson proves it, right? So, of course, communism is Christian, but you can just say communism is Jesus. That's the truth. Communism is Christ. It's the Holy Spirit. That's Jesus Christ's message on earth. That's literally the return of Jesus, right? There's nothing on earth more worthy of Jesus Christ than communism. Nothing. How can you be worthy of Jesus Christ outside of communism? How can we say that we live in a world with Jesus if it's not communism? How can this disgusting, accursed, filthy empire of lies be worthy of Jesus? Of course it's not. So the idea that Jesus will come back, which both Christianity and Islam acknowledge, well, Islam also upholds that and says Jesus will return in the end of times. But I see the return of Jesus as the rise of communism in the form of Marxism in the West. But what meta-historical or theological or metaphysical framework makes it even possible to understand this arc of history, right? Well, you need something coherent and singular and unified. And when people say this isn't adapted to America's condition, then why does America have a bunch of Unitarian sects that just emerged spontaneously? American Unitarian Christianity is literally something indigenous to America. For why? Why does America spontaneously create these Unitarian impulses and currents? Because Islam doesn't exist in the Middle East. It doesn't exist in the Muslim world. What they have in the Muslim world, the so-called Muslim world, is a series of habits and conventions that are borrowed from culture. There's no Islam. They have habits. They're praying 5 times a day. They're going through the motions of a religion. But belief in their hearts is gone. What about Iran? Well, Iran is also emerging on the basis of a modern revolutionary tradition. You know, Iran proving what's up. The truth is, a key part of the Iranian Islamic Revolution were educated intelligentsia that were, I wouldn't say Americanized, but they were intimately familiar with both America and Europe. And without them, there would not have been an Iranian Revolution. And so I believe that real Islam will emerge in this land, America. The United States of America. E pluribus unum, out of the many one. Right? What about Yemen? Well, look, here's something I believe. I don't think you can have real Islam. You need to think dialectically, okay? The Yemeni people, their courageousness. Of course, yes, you said they're real Muslims, of course. But real Islam, think about Islam as a world historical truth. How does that come to fruition? Now, of course, it's come to fruition in the courage, the bravery of Yemenis, of Iranians, Lebanese, whatever. But there's a central contradiction that makes the axis of resistance unable to achieve final victory, which is coming from the belly of the beast, the United States of America. So all of world history has to resolve here in America. This is the belly of the beast. This is the center of the entire global empire. Everything of consequence will happen here. Whether even in a destructive or a constructive sense. But in any case, world history has not taken its leave from America, not yet at least. Okay, we have on the Tic Tac, I can't believe this, we have people who are queuing up. Yes, communism is pro-A. I saw on Instagram a lot of people did not have this, were not agreeable to this, and I want to see what the issue is. Go ahead, Leon.
How you doing?
Terribly.
Terrible.
Yeah.
What happened, man?
Well, there's a lot of Enver Hoxha followers who are denying the fact that Enver Hoxha was a Muslim Sufi, Bektashi Sufi Muslim, and it's it brought me sadness because it's just self-evidently true.
Yeah. Can you elaborate on that, if I may ask?
Yeah, sure. So if you read Feuerbach and you read Marx, you understand that religion is not simply at the surface level, skin deep level of confessional beliefs about X, Y, and Z empirically about the world. Religion is a fundamental structure at the heart of the human unconscious. And it's understood as a type of alienation for sure, but that even in an alienated form, that is still the form the human essence takes insofar as private property is the prevailing principle of society. Given that private property on a worldwide scale had not been eliminated, I'm talking about from a classical Marxist perspective, I'm justifying this. Given that it had not been eliminated at any point in the past century, even if you confessionally claim to be an atheist, you have not freed yourself from religious alienation or religion. And therefore, even the form your atheism takes is going to be defined by the...
I'm agnostic.
No, you're not. You believe in something, but based on your unconscious, religious unconscious. Everyone has a religious unconscious architecture.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And Enver Hoxha was coming from a Shia Bektashi Sufi family and upbringing, and he had that ancestral memory that defined the very expression of Marxism-Leninism. For him, he did refer to Marxism-Leninism as an absolute in the same way a Sufi would, right? An ascetic Sufi who denounces and renounces the world in the name of the supreme moral principle, the supreme absolute. Now, Hoxha called it something different. He called it something, he used a different word, but religion doesn't lie at the level of the words that you use. It's the structure, it's the pattern, it's the logos behind it, right? Yeah. So Enver Hoxha was actually a Muslim.
Yeah, no, he actually grew up. He had a bit of a Turkish ancestry, of course, but
he came from a Muslim Shia background.
Yeah, I know, but then when he grew up more, he started being an atheist. He didn't really believe in God that much.
No. He started claiming to be an atheist. That doesn't mean you're actually an atheist. Just because you claim X, Y, and Z doesn't mean you've actually undergone a shift at the level of the religious unconscious. There's something called a religious unconscious. It's the structuration of how you find meaning in the world, how that's structured. You can claim to be an atheist and still structure the meaningfulness of the world in a Jewish, Christian, or Muslim way. Enver Hoxha structures the meaningfulness of existence and in the world until he's dead in an Islamic, specifically Bektashi Sufi Shia way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. Yeah, it was really nice meeting you. You know, we had a very great conversation. But can I say one more thing though?
So you acknowledge Hoxha is a Muslim?
It was like
No,
was
no. His whole life he was a Muslim, while in power.
uh, like the entire time.
Okay.
I mean,
what is religion? Let's begin there. Since you want to be a Marxist, I would imagine you claim to be an anti-revisionist Marxist-Leninist, right? So we're not going to be able to revise Marx's views on religion. According to Marx, what is religion?
Wait. Dude, I gotta go to sleep though. Like I wish I could.
According to Sheikh Karl Marx, what is religion? How does he define what religion is? Does Sheikh Karl Marx say religion is a set of arbitrary beliefs you have about the world positively, and that religion just means that you believe in some supernatural thing, and that's what it is? How does Marx, Sheikh Karl Marx, if you want to be an anti-revisionist, then let us not revise Sheikh Karl Marx's views. If we want to be anti-revisionist, then let us not revise the meaning of what religion is within the framework of Marxism, beginning at the very inception of what we call the materialist method, which Marx develops in contradistinction to Feuerbach.
Sheikh Karl Marx? Since when the fuck was Karl Marx a sheikh?
He absolutely was a sheikh. He was a Sufi sheikh.
Really, dude?
Yes.
Can you tell me about it?
He was called the Moor. Throughout his entire life, he was called the Moor. Second of all, when he visited Algeria, he said that the Algerians, that their culture, they're all already equal. They don't even need to deal with the nonsense they have in Europe. They need to just have, they're ready for their revolution. He said everyone here is equal. Everyone here treats each other with dignity. Nobody cares about their hierarchies or anything like that. And he was so shocked that the Algerians didn't care. They said, you know, a rich man walks into the cafe, he's the same thing as a poor guy. They're all wearing raggedy clothes, nobody cares. He said they're they're ripened and ready for the revolution.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Can you elaborate why he went to Algeria, if I may ask?
He went there because he was sick and he needed recovery.
Really?
Yes.
Like what type of illness did he have?
I don't exactly remember, but I remember he went there, shaved his beard, and he wanted to regrow his beard from scratch as a way to show he's awakened to his Islamic roots.
I'm not trying to break character. Yeah, absolutely.
There's no character. There's no character. Marx was a Sufi sheikh, and that's the end of the story.
That's so true. Like what type of haircut did he take?
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter, but I want to know. It would have been pretty cool to know.
Well, too bad you're not gonna. So, what did you want to come and talk about here?
But can I say one more thing though?
What?
Guess what?
What?
Chicken butt.
So you acknowledge that Enver Hoxha was in fact a Sufi Muslim, Shia.
He was one.
No, his whole life he was, because when he cut off relations with China, that's a classic Shia martyrdom thing where they say Albania may be thrown to hell, but so be it. It's like he was channeling Hussein's energy when he refused to submit. Absolutely, that's what Hoxha was doing. How else do you explain the governing logic behind his policy? He said Albania will not submit. It will retain the anti-revisionist Marxist-Leninist line, which can be a stand-in. It doesn't matter. Materially speaking, that's just a different word. You can say it's for the sake of a confessional religious doctrine, but the unconscious religious structure in practice has the same effect. Albania is isolated on the global stage all by itself, and when Hoxha dies, everything is gone because he wouldn't budge. Classical Shia martyrdom.
Everything was gone, man. Fuck.
When he died, everything just disappeared, basically.
Yeah, everything. We had like a really huge downgrade, to be honest with you. That is pretty true.
So Hoxha was a Bektashi Sufi, and that's a fact. If Hoxha realized he was a Bektashi Sufi, Albania could have been preserved. Albania could have linked up with Iran after 79 which Hoxha was
Yeah.
actually quasi-sympathetic with. Albania could have been a center of Islamic revolutionary renaissance in the entire region, correctly teaching people how Marxism-Leninism culminates in the rebirth of Islam. And Albania would have survived. It wouldn't have been isolated. But Hoxha, because he didn't awaken to the final truth, he was confined to languish in an unconscious of Islam instead of the real one, the conscious one.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I'm correct.
Does it sound correct?
I'm absolutely correct.
It's absolutely correct. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm absolutely correct.
Yeah.
What's so funny? What about this can you rationally object to? What about this is rationally objectionable?
What did you ask me?
What about this is rationally objectionable from the perspective of orthodox, anti-revisionist Marxism-Leninism? Tell me.
Dude, I generally do not have the time for that.
You don't have anything to say because you know it's the truth.
Yeah, you're telling the truth, man.
You have nothing to say. You have no response. You have no argument. You have nothing.
You won the argument, man.
You had nothing to say. What else can we conclude?
Yeah. What can I say, dude? What can I say? What can I say?
So nothing else? You have nothing else?
No, man. I got nothing to say.
I accept your surrender. Truly, I accept your surrender. You know, the question of whether I'm joking or not is like, or I'm trolling or not, it's like at this point, what if truth takes a comedic form? Have you ever thought about that? What if truth just takes a comedic form? I am fundamentally trying to disrupt how people think of reality. I'm trying to fundamentally disrupt people's preconceptions about reality. And that much I'm very serious. I'm very serious. I'm dead serious. But sometimes the only way to do that is by also making you laugh. And maybe by making you laugh, I make you think. That's what I want to do. I want to make you think. I want to give you the courage to think about shit differently by laughing about shit, right? But either what I'm doing is the most satanic thing in the world or it's the holiest thing in the world. I don't know. But anyway, look, I'm either an atheist or the truest Muslim. I'm either the truest atheist in the world or the truest Muslim in the world. But my heart is in the struggle. My heart is for the revolutionary struggle. My heart is for communism. My heart is for this lineage, this struggle. I see the truth with clarity. I see the cope with clarity. The cope in others, okay? It's very clear to me. I don't care about labels. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care about the labels. I care about the resonance. I care about the rhyme. I don't care about the lyrics of a song. I care about the music. Not the lyrics. I care about the music. Like Enver Hoxha, for example. They say, oh, but the labels are different. Okay, what's the difference between saying Allah? Or why is that different from saying anti-revisionism, Marxism-Leninism, Stalin? It's like it's the same thing, but you're using a different word. It's the same sound. It's the same resonance, but the word is different. What's different? It's the same. Okay, I understand at some level the word matters. But it's like 95% of the meaning has nothing to do with the literal usage of the word. The word is a cherry on top. Understand the infrared understanding of language. Words are the cherry on top. There's all these different layers of ice cream that are there first. And then the word you use is just a cherry on top. But in the retarded Anglo-box outlook, the word is the whole sundae. That's not true. The word is not the whole sundae. The word is the cherry on top of the sundae. You understand? The Anglo box says, no, the word is the whole sundae. No, it's fucking not. if I if I if I say, for example, let me explain something to you. If I tell you that this is a giraffe, have I committed a heinous sin if I tell you this is a giraffe? No, because you can look at it and say, but Haas, what do you mean to communicate by calling this a giraffe? What do you mean to communicate? Like, what am I trying to say? Am I trying to say that this is the same thing as the four-legged, long-necked animal, the mammal that's called a giraffe? Well, maybe I'm not saying that. Maybe I'm saying something else. But the meaning of what this is not the word glasses. The meaning of what, there's so many layers to the meaningfulness of what this is. For example, it can be put on my face like this. I can fold it in this way. It is shaped in this way. For example, it has this color. It has this usage. That's all the layers of the sundae, right? And then the cherry on top is that we call it glasses. We call it sunglasses. That's the cherry on top. The idealist understanding of language says, no. The word is the entire sundae. No, the word is just what we're referring. This is the cherry on top of the sundae. The sundae is here. Okay, you can see all the layers of the ice cream right here. The word sunglasses is a cherry on top. So if Enver Hoxha, if he looks like Islam or Muslim in the structure of what he's doing, and then the cherry on top is that he's confused about what kind of sundae he's making, that explains why he's an atheist confessionally, why he's saying, I'm an atheist, I eat pork, all this kind of superficial rituals. Oh, there's an unconscious religious structure that's a different sundae. You know, there's different layers of ice cream, and then the word is a cherry on top. That's how it works. So, for example, it's like saying that the Saudi version of Islam is Islam. That's like saying if you take a shit and pile it up and put a cherry on top of the shit, that's the same thing as chocolate ice cream. No, it's not. Maybe there's a superficial resemblance somewhere there, but that's not the same fucking thing. I'm sorry. Saudi Arabia can lay claim and say that that's the authority on all Islam could ever mean because some guy with a beard said it is, okay? This is the way I say so. Okay, so why should I care? Think about it. Where does the authority behind a religion actually come from? It comes from some person claiming something. Like you didn't have to follow Jesus. Nobody had to follow Jesus. Okay, they were all persuaded by his miracles. Okay, Judas still betrayed him. Nobody had to follow the prophet. He wasn't in charge. He wasn't like, oh, you have to. Nobody had to do it. Okay, so where does faith actually come from? The Muslims of today, they're channeling Dr. Fauci to justify their religion. Frankly, I wanted to be the good chairman who's just neutral on religion and treats Islam like all these other religions. I'm doing something very risky by dabbling and experimenting with matters of faith in this way. I understand. Trust me, I understand. But I look at the state of the world today and I say, something's got to give. Some things can't go on as they are. Something's got to give. There's a spiritual decay. There's a scourge of nihilism. There's an emptiness. How can we be just as revolutionary? How do we restore? This is the question. How do you restore the revolutionary Marxism? The only way to restore it, we have to relitigate the question of faith. Otherwise, where are we? I don't think in the 21st century, atheist Marxists cannot be revolutionaries in the 21st century. There's not a single example of them being revolutionaries. Anywhere. The last one was Che Guevara. So where are they? Isn't this an interesting question? When is the last time there have been atheist Marxist revolutionaries? Chairman Gonzalo? Was it Gonzalo? Where? Where? Think about it. Even if you're an atheist, that should bother you. You should think about that. Why is that? What happened to Marxism? What happened to revolutionary Marxism? Because atheists today, they seem like they're nihilists who are not willing to risk fundamental life and death struggle. They're not, no, well, I'm gonna have Pop-Tarts. And then some people say, well, in America, you have to. Why? 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 Xi Jinping, he's not a revolutionary. He doesn't have to be either, because his country doesn't need a revolution. But Xi Jinping is not a revolutionary. I don't like non-Chinese people trying to channel China, frankly. I'm going to wear a suit and be professional. Buddy, you're not. Before you do that, you need to go on the Long March. Do you not? I'm going to be China in America. No, you're not. No, because China, they have the inheritance of the Long March and the Cultural Revolution. What do we have? Nothing. We have the Black Panthers. It's the last thing we had. Black Panthers. Last thing we had was the Black Panthers. Okay? Truth is, that's the last thing we had, the Black Panthers. And what happened to them? They were destroyed. Why'd the Black Panthers fail? Because they had no national question. They had the intercommunalistic understanding of the national question, which was true in some sense, but they had no. The Rainbow Coalition framework was the logic of the Sorites paradox. How many grains of sand make a heap? Okay. How many different groups in a coalition make for a unified central authority that can sweep the nation? Infinitely many, right? At some point, there's an infinitesimal gap you have to cross that says, we are the authority, right? The Black Panthers weren't interested in doing that. They just wanted to confine themselves to the black community. But then they got isolated. And because they were isolated, they were destroyed. 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 can go on for infinity. To have a 1, you have to say 1. Yes, it's an infinitesimal gap. You have to cross 1. 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 it can go on forever. Forever. So where's 1? You have to have the confidence and the audacity of the 1. You have to. What makes you worthy? Fuck you. Nothing makes me worthy. Everyone is worthy already. So it's a matter of courage. Do you have the courage to name this worthiness?